Hello, everyone. Derek Floyd here. Beautiful Now podcast, chasing the impossible. Glad you guys could join us today. Welcome to the program. We're so excited you're here because we got an incredible special guest today. But before we jump into all that, we want to make sure you're enjoying yourself and that you know this content, this presentation is brought to you by, let's see who we got this time. We got some great people who's going to bring this presentation to you today. IK Multimedia and the great new place that's around the corner from us in Kannapolis called Grounds and Vine. They're bringing this to you today. We're going to talk a little bit about them later on in the program. Now, if you enjoyed this kind of content that you see at Chasing the Impossible, do me a favor. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But if you really like us, let's talk about why. Let's go to this next slide before you talk about it. What I want you to make sure you guys can know is that Chasing the Impossible is a program that's dialed in to be able to tell you what people do. Maybe that seems impossible. Maybe yourself, maybe you've gone through a situation that seems impossible in your own life. Your dream seems far away. But Chasing the Impossible says, these people that we interview, they said it's impossible and they made their possible happen. So believe it or not, you can make your possible too. That's why we do Chasing the Impossible here. And we're going to talk about that here in the program. Now today's, like I said, presentation is being brought to you by these guys here, Mr. IK Multimedia, the amazing company that I work for. And of course, I said Grounds and Vine. This is a coffee and wine shop that is local here. That if you love great wine, great coffee, and you want a great light, fair food, check this place out. You're going to love it. Now, our special guest today is going to blow your mind. He's been a good friend of ours for a long time. And when we talk about legend, when we talk about game changer, when we talk about someone who's done a little bit of everything, this is that guy. And I look up and I go, man, this guy has been the original influencer because he's been around and influenced the culture in so many ways. You're going to be shocked in how it's been done. So can I please have everybody out there that's watching this program give me a big clap up in the chat to welcome our man, Mr. DMC. This guy right here. DMC, you there for me, brother?
Yes, sir. What's happening?
What's good, man? What's good?
Life is good.
Man, I'm so glad you come to hang
Life is
out
good.
with us,
Life
bro.
is great. Thank
Yes.
you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Sure appreciate you being here, man. Glad that you come to hang out with us a little bit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm trying to see who's in the chat. We got 8 folks that are on right now. If you're in the chat right now, throw us a sign up of where you are watching the program from so DMC can give you some love, right? Let's see what's going on out there.
New Jersey, New Jersey.
Somebody said Jersey in the house. That's what's up.
Yeah.
So, man, again, thank you for taking the time to talk to the subscribers out there and the people that are watching the program. As we started off, we're saying your story has been one that seemed to be impossible, and you've done a lot along the way. When I think about Run DMC and think about DMC yourself and what you've accomplished, words come to mind like I said, legend, game changer, pioneer often comes up a lot. And
I don't think I'm a pioneer though.
Oh, dude, you have no idea, bro.
Go
ahead.
Let me clarify that.
Yes,
People
sir.
always ask me, what do you think about being a pioneer? I need everybody to understand the original true pioneers of hip hop are all the individuals, the boys and girls before rappers' delight. People tend to give hip hop's credibility and influence and greatness based on making records, the recording music industry field. No, you cannot give a person their props solely based on that. Everybody before rappers' delight needs to be included in the conversation with all of us, Jay-Z, Eminem, Run DMC, LL, Fugees who made records. So if we're going to talk about pioneers, Run DMC is pioneers of the music business aspect of hip hop. By being exposed, by being put on MTV, and by, being able to be the first to do everything that hip hop is now doing. But I just want to make sure I got to correct so that history is correct. The true pioneers of hip hop is everybody before rappers' delight. Those are the pioneers of hip hop.
Okay, I love that. I love that you bring everybody into the fold and recognize your place in history. Love that.
Yes. Yes.
I was sitting there thinking about your career, and I thought this guy was an influencer before there was influencers. Like on the internet. Because think about it, because you influenced fashion, culture. Not to mention the world of music. But you were
Right.
one of the first to get the sneaker deals. You were the one that wore certain clothes. You had a certain vibe. Everybody was trying to copy your flavor. Man, you were an influencer before there was an influencer. What? Come on now.
Without trying to be one.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was just self-expression, and I think what humbles me is that, Run DMC, me running J, we were chosen to be the representatives of the complete culture. From music, from fashion to style to the business of it, like the whole thing about it. But it wasn't something that we set out to do. We was just trying to be creative. We was just trying to have fun. We was trying to be like everybody before us. Grandmaster Flash, Funky 4+1, Cold Crush Brothers, which is my hugest influence. Treacherous Three, Kumo D before he went solo and Battle LL. Sha Rock was the +1 of the Funky 4+1. So we were being influenced by the artists, by the music, by the poets, by the writers, by the dancers. It was just everything about this hip hop culture, including pop culture, that influenced our style, our presence, and our delivery. And it's funny, little kids, I speak at a lot of high schools and middle schools and elementary schools. And I was speaking at one high school, and the kid was trying to diss. He was like, "Yo, DMC man, the old school is cool, but you dudes are over." And I was like, "Thank you very much. I'm proud to be over." And he looked at me like, "Huh?" And I said, "Yes, I just came over from London the other day. I'm getting ready to fly over to Singapore. I'm on my way over to Africa to perform in South Sudan." And the whole gym went like crazy. And, the kids was like, "Yeah, man, my father told me about them with the Adidas deal. And my father told me about them being the first on MTV. I got bars where I say no curls, no braids, PZ head and still get paid. I am the reason why Yeezys can get made." And everybody goes, "Yeah, man." Because without Run DMC and them, we wouldn't even be getting these sneaker deals and stuff like that. So I think the positive potential that we was representing was the thing that allowed us to be so-called the world's greatest influencers.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's think of this. When you think about the legacy of Run DMC, the music, the style, why do you think it's still relevant today? Because it's still relevant as we look forward now. It still makes a difference here now. Why do you think it's relevant?
Because we didn't make music that would be allowed to be confined to a specific time period or generation. I walk this earth now and I'm like, "Yo, I'm famous. I'm famous again." And it was like, "Yo, DMC, man, y'all always been famous." But the reason why I say it like that is because It's Tricky is one of the biggest records on TikTok. So I'm like a hit all over again with these little kids. The other day I went into the bakery, and the lady that knows me, she's from my generation. She was telling one of the high school girls in there that worked at the bakery, she said, "That's him. That's the guy that made Walk This Way." And she was like, the girl was like, "You made that Walk This Way record with Run DMC and Steven Tyler?" And I said, "No, I am the DMC, the guy that used to wear the glasses." And then the lady was like, "He made that Tricky song." And she was like, "That Tricky song? The Tricky song is always on TikTok." So I walk around the earth like, "Yeah, man, I'm the hottest thing on TikTok. Call me the TikTok man." But I think the reason why we was able to accomplish that is because we didn't just make, number one, I never just made music to impress my 16, 17-year-old and 18-year-old friends. When I wrote something, I wanted the adults to say, "Wow, young man, this is really great that you're making that." I wanted people, I came out in the 80s. So I wanted everybody who started in the 60s and 70s to respect and like what I was doing. And especially, my plan wasn't just for the time that I was put here on this earth. I got a plan where for millenniums, for decades, for centuries. I want my songs to be able to be played, and I want everybody who's listening, old, young, old, black, white, Puerto Rican, Asian, German, Russian, whatever. I want them to feel the very thing that I felt when I was 12 and 15 years old in my bedroom. I want them to feel that in their generation, even if I'm not walking the earth anymore. So it was always a broad plan to inspire and impact generationally,
I
because the
love it.
people that I grew up listening to, was the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and James Brown, and so I
Yeah.
just named those names. Their music will live forever. I wanted to be part of that discussion.
Wow. Well, you know what? That makes it understandable why your legacy has lived so long. You set out to do something with longevity. You were looking to be a
Right,
part of the culture for a long time. I got a couple people
right.
that want to give you some shout outs out here. I got Lucas Reza. I think you know this guy. There he is.
Yes.
Booyah.
Oh yeah.
Giving you mad love. Said salute to the
Shout
GOAT.
out.
He said, that's what's
I'm
up.
on. I'm on their new album.
Yes, yeah, yes, yes. And Lucas is the dude. Him and his brother Adrian.
Yes.
80 Empire for life. Y'all know what's up.
80 Empire. Yeah,
Yes,
80
sir.
Empire.
Yes, sir.
I'm on their new record. The song is called Wanderer, and it's banging. It's
Oh,
incredible. Every DJ, make sure you put that in your playlist and on your
yes, sir.
mixtape. And all you
Gotta do it.
radio jocks out there, you gotta play this record.
And we got salute from Spencer. Salute to DMC. Salute to
Hey,
vets
what's
of
up,
hip hop.
Salute. Salute.
Everybody giving love out
STD in the place to be.
there. We got my boy here. I think it's Mudab. I need to see if I can get that name right. Boom. There you go. DNC, what's good, my brother? Giving you some love out
What's
there.
up? What's up? Peace and
Everybody giving a
love.
little bit of love. I just want to make sure I give
Peace
everybody a
and
shout out.
love from up above.
And let's see who else is giving you some love out there. Okay, you know what? Hey, my mom's is watching the program. Look, mom's from Pompano Beach. Give some love
Hey,
to
mom.
moms.
What's happening?
And my boy Head Snack. This is one of my big boys right here giving you mad love from up there going, what's up,
That's
what's
that.
up?
Salute.
Yes, sir, yes, sir. Some people popping. I just want to make sure you can say hey to some of your fans as they come on,
Oh, for
because we want to
sure.
make sure they can, if they have
It's a
questions, they can ask.
community of us.
Yes,
It's all
yes.
family. We
So,
make the culture beautiful.
I love it. I love it. So stepping back into the time machine just a little bit, there were a
Yeah.
couple of specific tracks that probably set history in motion. And, Rockbox one, King of Rock being another. When you were in the
Right.
studio making those tracks, did you know that you were going to change the game like you did, or were you just doing what you love doing?
No, not at all. When we made Rockbox, which was in 1984, that became the single off the first album. Because remember, before Rockbox, everything was singles. Every hip hop record was singles and stuff like that. So we got the idea that, yo, we gonna make the first hip hop album. So in the beginning, it was like, okay, we'll give it to you hip hop guys for your singles. We'll listen to those. But then it was like, there's no way the world wants to hear a whole album filled with this hibbity hobbity hibbity crap, right? So when we started making the album, I was heavily influenced by the rock songs of the 60s and 70s. That was my thing. Because when I was growing up, Marvin Gaye, Aretha Franklin, and Al Green was my mom's music, my mom's and dad's music, because they were still cool. That was their music. As a little kid, I didn't have my own music. I was a little kid. I was too busy watching, Bugs Bunny, Looney Tunes, the Japanese black and white Godzilla films, and I was just into my comic books. So I didn't have a music that was definitive of me. But when I started hearing these different rock songs on the radio in the 70s and early 80s, and the radio in the 70s and early 80s was very diverse. You would hear Sly and the Family Stone, you would hear James Brown, but you would also hear Crosby, Stills, Young, and Nash. You would also hear Elton John. You would also hear the Doobie Brothers and Harry Chapin and Jim Croce. So you would hear rock, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, and the Rolling Stones, but you also would hear, like the black artists and stuff like that. There was something about the rock songs that was rougher. Rock was more like superheroes to me because they had the loud guitars and the drums were stronger than R&B and disco and funk. So long story short, when we was making the first album, prior to recorded hip hop, everybody was sampling disco and R&B records because most of the and James Brown, because James Brown always had a funky drummer beat for the MC to run his mouth over, and disco and R&B records always had a bass line break for the MC to run his mouth over. But in the early crates, in the crates of the early DJs, from Cool Herc to Grandmaster Flash, Grand Wizard Theodore, DJ Hollywood, there was also rock break beats. So when we made Rock Box, we was just trying to make Billy Squire's big beat over. So originally it was just the drums and our first producer, Larry Smith, who's the greatest producer in hip hop period that nobody knows about. Larry Smith, he was a bass player. He put the bass line on Rock Box, do 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 do, doom doom doom, and then he added the bells, and then it was like something was missing. Because usually with a rock song, you play the beat when the guitars would come in for like a 4-bar, 8-bar loop. You go back to the beat. So we was trying to make Billy Squire's big beat. So Larry was going to just have the guitars coming in and out, but we didn't have a guitar player. So Larry, being in a band, he knew a lot of cats, and that was lingo. If he was in a band, he knew jazz cats, he knew funk cats, he knew R&B cats, and he knew rock cats. So when we was like, yo, we need guitars on this record, he said, yo, I'm gonna call up my buddy. It's a guy named Eddie Martinez who plays with Quiet Riot, and we're gonna put the guitars on it. So originally, we just wanted to make Billy Squire's big beat over and have the guitars coming in and out on a 4 or 8-bar loop. Larry and Russell took it upon themselves to let the guitars play, let Eddie's guitars play all the way through the song, and it just gave it another vibe. It made it very psychedelic. It made it very hard. It made it very loud. It made it very attractive, and at the same time, it made it very funky. So we decided that the song Rock Box wouldn't just be a hip hop rock breakbeat. It would be a full-on rock song. And that's how Rock Box came to be. So at the time, we didn't know what we was doing, but that record, Rock Box, is the song that allowed hip hop to be, and hip hop and Run DMC to be the first on MTV.
Wow. That's history in the making right there, bro.
Yeah,
that's how
huge,
things
huge.
get done. And I got a quick shout from one of your boys. I know you know Mr. Grand Mixer DXT.
He's a legend.
He's giving you some shout. he said, shout out.
He had those records in his crate. And I was just a youngin' listening to tapes of him and trying to figure out what the hell is that is playing. So he knows exactly what I'm talking about. We're not the pioneers because DXT did it. All the DJs before, Jam Master Jay and us, they did it. We was just the first to do what they were doing in the streets of New York City and the Bronx and Manhattan and at all the black parties in every borough. We was just the first to do it on record.
I love it. I love it. And one of the sponsors of tonight's event for you, Grounds and Vine, which is a great restaurant here local, wants to say, hey, from all the people that are in the shop today, they're watching your program on a big screen TV. So, Shay, shout to Grounds and Vines for me.
Shout out to Grounds and Vines. Everything is fine, and I love that name.
There it
That
is.
name is incredible.
Coffee and wine. That's what's up, man. So, shout out to Miss Sarah.
Grounds and Vine, coffee and rhyme. I mean, coffee and coffee and wine. Grounds and Vine, coffee and wine, beats and rhymes. It's all together.
I love it, man. See, they're giving you mad love right now. So appreciate that. So you talk about the moment that they brought in this guy. He brought in one of your cats. His name was
he brought in a cat named Eddie
Martinez.
Who played on King of Rock too. He played on King of Rock too. Then with Rock Box, we took it another level. So without King of Rock and Rock Box, there's no Walk This Way.
So we just happened to have that cat that you brought onto that record that day. Mr. Eddie Martinez is in the house. Eddie, what's good?
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, Eddie?
Hey man, everything here in Portland, Oregon, trying to stay dry, but everything's good.
That's good.
Man, I'm glad you're here, Eddie, man. You're a part of this whole historical moment we talking about, man.
Yeah, it was an incredible time. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate this. Amazing.
Oh, it's
Amazing.
a blessing. It's a
So great
blessing.
thing. DMC, what you were referring to is really, really interesting in terms of, in terms of, really it's really salient in terms of what you're saying relative to, okay, you cats were the ones that did it in the recording realm, but you had all these other inspirations that came up along before, so you kind of really created a distinction, and given props to the ones that were there earlier doing their thing in their own way, and what you did with Run and with Jam Master Jay, it just took it to a different realm, so
Oh, for
really just
sure.
really, I really hit on some really super interesting points.
I love it. I love it. And since we have you here, Eddie, since you were in the room that fateful day,
Hmm.
playing on Rockbox, did you have any idea in your mind that that lick you were playing was going to be making history?
Man, as D said, when I came home that night, I says, man, that track really rocks. I mean, I felt really good about it. I didn't I didn't know it was going to have that kind of impactful cultural significance. I just knew that it was really a lot of fun to do. And Larry called me up. He says, "Yo, Eddie, man, I want you to put some of your shit on this." I
Yep.
said, "I'm there," and Roddy Huey, who was the engineer, did a great job, man. He did a great job on that record because the guitars all sound fat, and it was really a lot of fun to do. And it's really amazing because music is an illusion, in a lot of ways relative to sound and how you generate sound, and the equipment that I was using in those days would be considered primitive now, but when I'm listening back to it, it still sounds good. It's not like a preset on a virtual thing. We had to make the sounds ourselves. And it's really organic. It's just plug into an amp. Turn that thing up to 10 and get your tones, and then try to serve the piece of music that you're playing on. It's all about serving the song and serving the what has been there, because the drums were down, the DMX drum machine was down,
Yeah,
Larry bass,
DMX.
and then the bells were on there. So it was really stripped naked. And I think there was some raps on there too. I think you cats had done some of your stuff on there. You laid some scratches on there, some
Yeah,
scratch vocals rather, you know.
yeah,
And we just started layering and layering, and man, it still holds up, man. And is that's the amazing thing about it, because it's authentic. It's not
Mm.
really. There's an authenticity to it, because let me tell you, when I think of myself back in those days, I was, a studio player. I was playing on a lot of different wide varieties of music, from Lenny White to Robert Palmer, and a lot of different styles and stuff like that. But what you guys were doing was so fresh. It was so fresh. It was like, I said, wow, this is I felt like I felt like it was like a seismic shift going on. There was a big pivot going on musically and culturally, and I'm just proud to have been a part of that. And it was really, it's got to be fun, because when you do this and it's not fun, it becomes work, and we
Yeah.
yep,
don't like to. We like to play, so that's what it's
yep.
all.
I love that you said it was authentic. I think a lot of times we hear records now that are manufactured to sound a certain way. You guys walked in the
Yeah,
door, plugged in your instruments. You did what you did. You came and laid that track. It was just about being dirty, gritty. You gave it the sound it needed instead of trying to create something that, you just gave it what it needed. Like you said, you served the song. We really miss
yeah.
that in local radio station music right now. We miss serving the song. It's not the same anymore.
Well,
It's all
Right.
cookie cutter.
when you think about that was recorded on analog. It was recorded on tape. Now everything's in virtual realm, which is cool. I mean, the advantage to virtual recording is incredible, especially cutting, editing and things like that, or just mixing. I mean, it's really an amazing thing when you're doing it in the box. But we were doing it on analog tape, and so there's something about that. And there's also this aspect to there's a marketing law. One of the immutable laws of marketing is it's better to be first than to be better. And and
Yep.
and
Yeah,
what
yeah.
is
I
when
I
you're
love that. I love that.
when you're first. Nobody's been there before, so everybody else is a derivative of what you've done, and that's what you cats did, and I'm so happy to have been a part of that.
Wow. I so love that. I so love that. You and I were talking before the show, Eddie, about the distortion sound that you used. You were creating on that day with King of Rock and with Rockbox. Some have said that particular sound influenced the 80s, like Prince or Def Leppard. I mean, this sound was so influential. How did that sound come about when you were working on those tracks? And then how did that sound itself change the trajectory of your career? Where'd you go from here?
Well, it's really interesting. When I think about that, for all the guitar nerds and stuff that want to get into, what I played, it was very simple. I used the amp that was there, and it was a Music Man 212 combo, which would be equivalent to like a twin reverb, a Fender reverb, and I had a Boss OD1 overdrive. It was a yellow Boss pedal. And that was it. And then my Hamer guitar, the red Hamer that I used in the videos, which I still have, that was my hit maker. I used that for, King of Rock, Rockbox, Addicted to Love. Just tons of really big records. And so that's my magic hit maker guitar. But that's what was that day.
Hey, and you said you played on Addicted to Love, the Robert Palmer track too. That was you. Gonna
Yes,
have
sir.
to face it, you're addicted. Oh man, that was one of my favorites too, man. Come on, you've been on so many records. I'm gonna have to go dig up your collection. I'm looking at the back of the wall. How many platinum records have you played on, bro?
That's why all those records were so good.
I know, right? I
Oh,
used to play the
so
heck out of
kind.
that track, man. Come on,
Well,
that
it's
track
really
was fire.
That's very kind of you to say. When I think about the arc of my career, it's just like say if some young kid is in a movie and then all of a sudden the movie's a hit, they want to cast that kid in the movie, and it's the same thing with recording. It's like, I want that sound. Who played guitar on that? So that kind of manifested itself, and then then people wanted that sound, and I'm grateful for that. Because when I think about the arc of my career, I've played funk stuff and rock stuff, and so I've been able to be a part of a lot of records that were successful that really covered a wide variety of styles, and there's nothing more fun than that.
Right.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I sit and think it's got people that are giving some shouts out there. I'm going to throw a couple of shouts so you can see who that they're watching us for us. We got one of my boys here, Mr. Steve Worthy, going some love up there. He's actually an amazing content creator, leadership mentor, pivot guy. Steve, give him some love out there. He's doing great out there. He wants to check out the program, loving it. And Sput came in and said, being original is the first. That's always that's how you said it. That was perfect how you said that. That is so much better, so much better. And like they both said, better to be first than to be the one. Big love for that. We got a podcasters program called Podcasters Live jumping up and giving us some love. And Miss Rhonda Supreme coming in. We got a lot of folks saying love with you guys, man. Spencer TV saying, I got to give him this. I remember this kid who was a street dude walking down my block blasting rock box from a boom box and me watching from the window, geeking like, yo, that's so cool.
That's crazy. You know what's even crazier? If people know the history, when we put the single out, it was an A side and a B side. The A side was the full version with Eddie's guitars all the way through, and then me and Run, just in case for the real hip hop heads, just in case they thought there was too much guitar on it, the B side was the version without the guitars in it. Just for the beat heads.
Yeah.
Nobody really, I don't think anybody ever played. I'm talking about Red Alert, Mr. Magic, Awesome. So nobody ever played the side without the guitars. So that's telling you something. That's
Eddie, you changed the game.
How powerful that is.
Eddie, you changed the game. You changed the game.
Thank you. D, I got
There
a
it
funny
is.
story. I remember when the record first came out. I remember coming home and there was the message on my remember your message answering machines that were connected to your phone.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm listening to the messages, and my buddy Steve Stevens from Billy Idol's band.
Oh, big shout out. Yeah,
Yeah.
Stevens, love him.
Yeah, man. So Steve left a message on the machine. He says, "Eddie, is that you on that Run DMC Rockbox thing? Cause I'm in London and that shit is blowing up, you know."
Wow.
And wow, and that's what kind of I didn't realize it. I didn't realize it then. The rest, I mean, it's after that, man. It was everywhere, everywhere.
Wow.
Yep.
And we got one more question from out in the team here. Hold on, not this one, but the next one first. This one right here. Does the sound come before the lyrics? Is that something you can speak to, or is that something probably DMC got to speak to on that one?
I mean, it's probably the same for Eddie. Sometimes it's either or. Sometimes somebody will come with the lyric, and then you gotta find the sound to fit the emotion. Other times it's the music and the sound. Now you gotta write the lyrics to the song to fit the emotion of the music. So it's a very emotional process.
It is. It's so true.
Right, Eddie?
Oh man, it's like you have to tap into the aesthetic of the song. It's hard to really put it into words. So I wish there were some words that we can use, but we'll get into some deep metaphors. But when you think about, there's a vibe, and that word, it's so cliche, but there's so much truth to it, because when you hear it, you're picking up something that really just can't be translated into language.
Dangerously, we can say it's a spiritual thing. Music comes in your spirit. It's something that moves you.
Spiritual thing.
It's it's a vibe. It's something that goes. You can't place it. You can't put your finger on it. You can't but it makes you go, yeah.
Oh, without a doubt, it's spiritual. Music, spirit.
Yes.
And it, man, I just felt it. And there's you instinctively, it takes you a particular way to go.
Yeah.
And on those records, on Rockbox and King of Rock, one of the things that I wanted to do when I came into hip hop, a lot of people think that they have to be negative, they have to be vulgar, they have to be disrespectful. But, the problem with entertainment and attitude in America over the past, I would say, 10 years in general is people use negativity as a false sense of power. So what was the beautiful thing about the way Rockbox and King of Rock came about, we was able to be so hard. I'm talking about the streets loved us, the rock dudes loved us, the punk people loved us. We had this hardness to us. So I did not have to curse on those records, because Eddie's sound handled that for me.
I love it.
You know what I'm saying? Everything those guitars was doing, that was the MFers. We was cursing all of y'all out. And Eddie did all the talking for me. So all I had to do was just go in there and float.
I love that analogy. That makes so much sense.
What's really interesting, D, is when you think about the beginning of each one of the videos, versus Rockbox, and you had Professor Irwin Corey, who's talking and just talking field, and it's hilarious, because I used to see him on TV, and he used to do that double talk thing, and he's just like talking in circles. So he's doing his thing, and then all of a sudden the music kicks in. It's kind of like iconoclastic. It's like the power of the music is kind of breaking a tradition. And then in the next video, you cats are walking into a rock museum, and
with Larry Bud Melman from the David Letterman show.
Exactly. Walk in and you're breaking a tradition. But here's the irony: when you think about rock and roll is traditionally black music. When you think about the architects, like Little Richard and Bo Diddley and Chuck Berry.
Come on, go back, the real deal.
Robert Johnson.
Come on.
You want to go way back, but the aspect of you cats walking into a museum and kind of like, okay, that's cool, but this is what's happening now, and like move over, as Jimmy said, and you just.
And what else is, what's real crazy about that? The Rockbox video, the King of Rock video, when we did that, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame didn't even exist.
Wow.
It didn't start till the next year.
Wow.
I didn't know that. When we got inducted in '09, he was like, D, come in, we need to tell you something. I was like, what? He said, don't you know you guys were prophetic? And I was like, what you talking about? They were saying in 1985, y'all did a song called Rock Box with Larry Bud Melman at the front door of a rock museum denying your entry. And I said, yeah, so
Wow.
what? It was like, yo, we didn't start till '86. And you know what else is funny too? It was very prophetic because people still have these misgivings about hip hop being allowed into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Museum. So what's actually happening with a lot of hip hop acts getting in is what Larry Bud Melman was, prophesying that this was going to happen. But when I think about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the first thing that I got to say is this: even if we never got in, our mission was accomplished. And people go, "What do you mean?" I said, we've already achieved a huge accomplishment, even if we never got in. And they said, what accomplishment is that? Look, just to be considered worthy enough for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, with all of those bands that we stole music from and sampled and utilized and chopped up and remixed, just to be considered worthy to even walk into a room with them is a big accomplishment. But people don't understand how powerful that is, because without their music, without everybody that's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, there would be no hip hop. And then when you
Wow.
take it further, it's like Eddie said. I forgot what blues artist said this. He said, look, the blues is the roots. Everything else is just the fruits. So without all of those great riffs and those great drum beats and those bass players and those background singers and those tambourine, hip hop would not have no music if it wasn't for the musicians. And I think Run DMC, when we came in, the beautiful thing about Rock Boxing and King of Rock, the only thing technically that, would make Gene Simmons not let us in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the only thing that wasn't live was the drums. Like Eddie said, we used the DMX drum machine. But when we got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a multitude of people said Run DMC gets a pass. Why? Because we have a live guitar player. In most of my hits, I mean, besides, Beats to the Rhyme and My Adidas and Suck Seas, most of my world-renowned hits were rock songs. Rock Box, King of Rock, Walk This Way, Tricky, Mary Mary, all guitar-based records. So
Yeah.
in '85, I was just pretending to be the King of Rock, but having Eddie Martinez really play guitars in your face allows me to sit here and say I am the King of Rock.
I hope y'all getting this school of knowledge out here, y'all, because this is science and history in the making. That's all I can tell you. History in the making. Lots of people shouting out. Still want to get my boy Lucas. Of course, I know you know Lucas DMC. He's giving a big shout out to me. So appreciate you down there, Lucas, man. We known each other 20 years, dog. Wow.
That's crazy.
And Lucas been in the game for a hot minute. So you own Lucas's next record, right there,
Yes,
Mr.
I'm
DMC?
on the album. Yes.
So we got to give Lucas some love. Check out the record. Y'all be looking for it. It's gonna be off the Richter. 80
Yeah, the
Empire for
album's
life
really
in
good.
the house. In the house.
80,
you know,
80E,
80E. That's what. Well, you know what? We have taken it backwards, but now let's fast forward a minute, and you're changing the game again. You are gonna go back to creating a sound that you kind of originated, and you got the opportunity to get another guitar player to jump in, and you had to jam with and have the creative space to come in and do some things with. And I think I'm gonna introduce this guy. His name is Mr. Big KO. Let's see if we can get him to come through. Come on, KO. Let's see if you're there for us. Hold on. Let's see what we got for KO.
Well, the KO
What?
actually called me up, and he was just ranting and raving about how Rock Box and King of Rock changed his life. And because of that, he was like, yo, D, I got this idea for this record. And he what it was is he wanted to impress me, but even more importantly, he wanted to impress Eddie.
See,
it's
there's
cool.
the
He
truth.
knows me. I've done stuff. He's worked with a lot of us hip hop heads. but his main goal was not to just disappoint the god Eddie.
Well, Mr.
Yeah.
KO, you have been called out by DMC. What you got to say for yourself, bro?
It's all true.
That's all true. It's all true.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an honor. Thanks for having me, D, and it's an honor to be here. But it's awesome, man. Like when you get a chance to create with an artist like D, yeah, you have the ghost of Eddie Martinez in the room with you, and the ghost of Larry Smith. So, you know, as a producer, when I try to create sounds for D, I have to try to combine those two worlds. Like a producer, guitar player, bass player, and try to deliver the sound that he's used to stomping over. And I think we did it with this new record. But yeah, I was a kid, like D said. I think part of the story that really attracted D to me was I was one of those kids. I was in front of the television set waiting for Run DMC to come on TV, their video, Rockbox. And in between, I, saw all these other incredible rock videos, Van Halen, Judas Priest, Madonna. So I was just, a kid that was soaking all of that in. And as a result, I became a rock fan. And, subsequently, King of Rock, it was funny when you guys were talking about lineage and what comes before, and then there's the next generation. There was the pioneers, then it was you guys, but then you guys influenced me because, this shit behind me, the gold and platinum awards and stuff I've done would not be possible and would not have happened if it wasn't for Rockbox and King of Rock. So I know you guys, Eddie and D, you guys hear it all the time, how much you influence from the music you guys created to what we're doing now, which is ghetto metal. So, it's an honor.
Wow, man. Right. Thank you for even bringing that up. And you and DMC have this new thing. The track is called Ghetto Metal, right? That's the vibe?
Yes, that's what it is. Ghetto Metal.
And how long you guys been working on this track?
This track came about really quick. I mean, that was the great thing about it. A lot of times
20 minutes to lay my vocals.
Yeah, I mean that took the longest. See, D knocked out his vocals, and we had this record wrapped up from idea to mixed within a couple of weeks. We've done almost over 10 records together. Each one gets better. Each one I'm able to dial in that classic sound a little bit better. But this one, I just think that the mind state that I was in as a producer, I really had to go back to when I was 10 years old. And that's really what influenced that sound. Being a 10-year-old kid, watching King of Rock video, watching Eddie Martinez with that hammer in front of those Marshalls. And even, back to King of Rock, seeing Eddie Martinez on top of the Cadillac for a young black kid from the, from a young black kid from the ghetto when no one on MTV looked like me. No, I'm waiting for Run DMC for people that look like me, and yeah. So seeing that was just mind blowing. And it wasn't 2 years later that I found out who Eddie Martinez was, because it was a famous ad in the guitar trades for Marshall, where Eddie's laying on top of the Marshall amps. And I was like, that's who that guy was in that video.
That's him.
And I told my mom, Mom, I want a guitar for Christmas. And that Christmas '86, I got my first guitar, and the first riff that I ever learned, I was told this shit over and over again, King of Rock. So it's a direct connection to you guys' music and to what I'm doing now, and it's amazing. And I'm truly blessed, and you guys are just incredible. Wow. Thank you.
And one of the things that was my motivation when KO sent me the track is to take, like I did at the beginning of this conversation. Everybody's so focused on the fame and celebrity aspect of this artistic, musical, creative, and these artistic, creative endeavors. One of the things that I wanted to do with this Ghetto Metal track is smack everybody in the face that think rock is dead, and also smack anybody in the face that think hip hop sucks. First of all, rock is not dead. As long as I'm alive and Eddie's alive, and Eddie, I played with Steve Stevens with the Royal Machines. Me, him, Dave Navarro, Billy Morrison. I know Steve. Like, it's so crazy how connected we are. I play with Steve. I'm like the sixth member in Steve's band, the Royal Machines. So for anybody to say that rock is dead and hip hop sucks, the problem is people are not being given the whole versatile, incredible existence about what both of those genres and cultures will always be. You know what I'm saying? I don't call myself a classic or old school artist. I call myself an eternal artist. When all of this other stuff dies, me and Eddie and KO and Steve Stevens, we still gonna be rocking.
Ah, I love it. I love it. I love
the
it.
great thing about ghetto metal is there's a classic line that D said in Run's house. Get on the floor. Get on the floor. Hard rock, hard hitting, hip hop, hardcore. And that's what ghetto metal's about. I don't know if you can see the shirt, but the shirt says hard rock, hard hitting, hip hop, hardcore. That perfectly describes what the single is.
Yeah.
It's hard hitting rock and it's hardcore hip hop. Period.
Yep.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, hey, you know what? I'm thinking this. Should we show the video? Y'all ready to show the? Can we unveil the video right now? Can we do that? Can we unveil the new video by KO and DMC?
I would love the world premiere the video here with Eddie Martinez and D. It's absolutely amazing to have.
KO, you got to make sure Eddie get his sneakers and his shirt.
You got it. I'm making up his package tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Let's let them see the brand new video, Ghetto Metal by Big KO and DMC. Let's check this out. Let's see if we got this thing ready to rock.
Martinez,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely big shit.
Kurt. Now look, remember, do it right this time, and I want rock and roll, baby.
I met this little black kid with a rock guitar. He said, DMC, I know who you are. Everybody knows that you're king of the rock, the baddest MC on any block. The son of Byford, brother of Al. You played at the Fever for a king named Sal. You rock to the beat of a Larry Smith, a master and a wizard with a musical gift. You come from a place called Hollis, Queens. You're something like those people from the Lord of the Rings. Darryl McDaniels, you are no joke. Powerful like Thanos when he's slamming a hole. Wanna kill you, but you can't kill God. Throughout these streets, you rock the box. You coming from the school of the hardest knock. So allow me to introduce myself. I play this guitar like no one else. It's everything I feel and how I felt. I never took lessons, I taught myself. Me and this guitar, we are one. The universe works together like the earth and sun. The language I speak is guitar whiffs. You are a man that's on a planet who understands all this. I rock this mic and I rock it right. The rhymes I recite all night. He played the guitar till his fingers bled. At the start of the show is when he started to shred. He hit like Hendrix and slayed like Slash. He totally intended to rock that ass. He stepped on the stage and amazed the crowd. And believe me when I say it, he plays it loud. Like Eddie Van Halen, he is possessed. Now the people are saying that he's one of the best. I'm not like the others with the same old same. When I start rocking, I'm changing the game. So let them all know when the story's told that we are the kings of the rock and roll.
Yeah. What y'all think about that?
It's
Hip
hard,
hop
it's
and
hard.
rock and roll alive and
Hard.
well in the
Hard.
house. What's good?
I'm gonna go out on the limb and say I don't think many people are rocking like that in
I don't think so.
2021. That was some sweaty, nasty, hard rock, ghetto metal. That video. If you see the camaraderie, you see the chemistry. That's love between me and D. This is our 10th record. 10. I can't even hold up enough hands. 10.
Wow.
Number 10. Number 10 is the one that for some reason everything lined up, and this shit opened up a portal to 1985. And
He said that was absolutely amazing. Everybody out there watching, y'all had to think that was off the chain. Come on, that had
It's
to be
new
fire.
too. What I like it's new. It's new shit. It's new. Like we do this. This is like new music.
Yep.
But it's going to inspire, boys and girls to go to the local music. It's going to inspire people to pick up drums and guitars and basses. Instruments
sir.
again.
Oh,
You know what I'm
man.
saying?
Yeah.
And it had
that
that
was an
big
important-
rock sound. Boom, boom,
Right.
God, boom,
that
boom.
that was an important
God,
that was an
that was
important
hot.
thing for me. Like in terms of the performance video, that was important for me and D to get in there so we can show kids that look like us or may look different that this shit is cool. Rock and roll and hip hop. Sometimes they get it twisted. They want to be rock stars. Being rock stars, not doing drugs and having sex. Being
Yeah,
rock stars
man.
is playing instruments, being creative, and making incredible rock music. So
I love it.
we wanted to
Yeah.
be in there doing our thing, looking cool, looking strong, because that's what we do. And ghetto metal is just recoining the phrase. People want to call it hip hop rock. We never really called it that. I don't think D ever called it that. Now we're rechristening it as ghetto metal, and that's what it is.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. You got people asking questions. KO, can you give your secret behind the sound of that snare? That snare
the
was
snare.
beast, dude. It was like boom, boom.
Well,
That was killer.
I recorded the tune at Bass Sounds Studios in Sarasota. They're amazing, and my engineer Bob Frank, who mixed and engineered the song, he did an amazing job on it. He was able to capture that big rock sound, like we talked about. What we wanted the drums to sound like.
And
he actually interned at Electric Ladyland, and he studied their board. He learned on their board, so he was able to take that sound and that expertise and bring it to this record. So it really gives it a classic rock sound. It's gonna feel like almost every big '80s arena rock song that you love, and that was by design.
What you gonna say, DMC?
And we recorded in a sacred place, the Allman Brothers studio.
Yeah, Bass Sound
Okay.
Studios was built by the Allman Brothers back in the late '70s. Fleetwood Mac recorded there. The Allman Brothers, Government Mule recorded a whole lot of albums there. So it had a lot of mojo, and we was able to go in and just capture that magic. And then, the live performance video was just really just amazing. We just got in there and just because me and D haven't seen each other since the pandemic. So it was the first time we really seen each other in a couple of years. And, we really was just like, had to really come out and just get to it. So what you see in the video is just us reconnecting after 2 years. So you see that energy when bumping into each other and hugging each other, like that love.
Y'all was having fun, man. Y'all was having a blast.
We had a lot to get off our chest.
Yeah. It was good times, man. Good times. I think we lost KO's sound for a second. You still there, KO?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, cool. Hey, you know what? My wife just chimed in. She said, that was awesome. So that, you got another fan right there. My wife was like, yo.
Thank you.
Yeah. So she said, wow. She's like this. That's for you, boo. There it is.
Right on.
Well, man, you guys are definitely showing us how to change the game and keeping things going forward, which is what I think is so amazing, because you're taking what was, morphing it, giving it more life, and continuing on and taking the legacy and making it something new, something fresh for people that never heard it. You know, some people have never heard this type of sound. All these young kids now, they don't know. They don't know what's going on. So you bring them something like this, and they're like, oh my God, what is this about? It's just a whole other world for them. Like DMC said, it's tricky. It's now a TikTok song.
Yes,
it's a timeless song, and now it's playing on TikTok. So the music, and this song, KO, Big DMC, is going to live on. I feel this one. It's going to be the track right here. Eddie, man, this is going to be the one, right, Eddie?
You. Oh, it's killing.
It's killing.
It's
you,
great. You know, instruments and not programs.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Hitting the drum, big fat guitars. It'll inspire kids. Guitars again. You know, it's. I mean, that stuff is important, man. It really is.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause there's only two kinds of music, good and bad. So it doesn't matter the style or whatever. Just do it. Express
do it.
That's the most important thing.
Now, KL, you have stepped into a new realm of the creativity, working with the company that I work for, IK Multimedia, using a product called Amplitude now. Give me a little bit of insight about that and tell them how that's changed how you create.
Oh, well, Amplitude was absolutely essential to this record and, you know, my last 10 years worth of records. I've been using it for about 10 years and just watching it grow and become better and better and better. And particularly on Ghetto Metal, there was a lot of harmony guitars, like Brian May style harmony guitars. When people hear it and see the video, that they'll hear this Queen Flash Gordon-esque guitar fills, and that was only possible using IK, the Brian May Amplitude set. And I have a fully blown Amplitude set. I just got the amazing X Drive. Probably one of the few cats with this. Eddie, there's one on the way to you, soon. But the Amplitude was absolutely essential, especially on the solos and the harmony parts. And I'm really, really proud of the solos. Like, D always pushes me, and on this record, he pushes me. Add more guitars, add more fills, rip the solo, because I'll hold back a little bit because I'm a producer. I want to produce for the song. But he told me, like, look, go for it. So I was also inspired by Queen and Run DMC at Live Aid. And what's so funny, we all know Eddie played at Live Aid as well, which is just cosmic for me.
Martinez in the house played there too.
Yeah, that was an insane day. That was the fastest 20 minutes of my life. It's like you walk out and they're like, what, 95,000 people, 80,000, I don't know, but it was crazy. And then Tina and Mick, there was big energy. So the energy that was coming off stage and the energy from the people, it was like it all met right at the front of the stage, man. It was like, it was insane. It was heavy.
That's amazing, Eddie. Like, that's amazing. I wanted to pick your brain about that. You and D, you guys did Rock Box, King of Rock, made history, and then both of y'all performed at Live Aid. It was like, did you guys see each other that day or run into each other?
What's crazy? No, we did. But what's crazy is Eddie performed with Tina and Mick.
Crazy.
That dude.
Mind blown. Mind blown.
What was mind blowing was we had a sound check the night before. So we're at JFK Stadium in Philadelphia, and the stadium is empty except for the crew and all the people, the technical on stage. And we went through a run through of the songs to an empty stadium, and man, Mick was on fire. I mean, running through the song was like he was on 150 plus. It was, the energy was amazing, even at the run through. And it goes to show you, man, that he's really committed to what he does.
Yeah.
Really incredible. Yeah. And then nobody knew that he was going to pull Tina's skirt off. So
That was a
Wardrobe
controversial
malfunction
moment.
before that was a classic thing.
that was not for her. They ran that down amongst themselves, but you know, it was
Right. Wow.
Well, man, I have got to circle us back around. We have got so much going on, and we're only supposed to be an hour show, but we just cranking on through it. We having mad fun. So I'm gonna ask a few more questions if y'all okay. Y'all ready with that? Y'all all right with that? We good?
Yeah, let's
We
do
keep
it.
going. All right, let's. Because I feel like you guys have set the tone. You've shown us a little bit of history. You've shown us some of the stories in between, how you built what you were doing, how you became the great artist that you are. You've shown us a little bit of the future, where you're headed. And I want to get a little bit back to DMC just to ask a question because, of course, you've experienced so much musically right now. I know your creativity has now expanded into comics. Is this for real? Is this you doing comic books now? Holler at me about that. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah. Before music, before 60s and 70s, New York City radio, all I did as a kid was read, collect, and draw comic books. So it was actually the comic books that gave me the courage to get up on stage and become the most powerful entity in the hip hop universe. Those were the things. The comic book was the catalyst for me to become the king of rock and do everything that I do. So about 4 years ago, I had a meeting with Riggs Morales, who was Eminem's right-hand man at Shady Records for the rise of that great empire. And it was a music meeting. And I went into the meeting and he was like fanning out. He was like, yo, DMC, man, you're like my superhero, man. The way you sound and the way you look. I'll probably never get this opportunity again. He just asked me what was it like when I was a kid. And I was like, well, all I did was read, collect, and draw comic books. And when I said comic books, we thought it was just music that we had in common. We sat there for like 3 hours and we just talked about comic books. And then he just said, yo, D, man, you got to do a comic book, man. And the thing that inspired me, that excited me about doing a comic book, he said, you can do the same thing you've done with your music all these years. And motivate, educate, entertain, and inspire people. So 4 years ago, I started a comic book company, and he asked me, he said, you can't call it Marvel, you can't call it DC, you can't call it Image. What would you call your comic book company? And I was sitting there trying to come up with all these names, and just like in hip hop, the DM and the C can stand for whatever I want it to stand for. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just call my comic book company DMC. Darryl Makes Comics. And he was like, yo, that's so dope. This and that. He started flipping out. And then he took me to the Comic-Con, New York City Comic-Con 4 years ago, and we've been doing it ever since. So if you listen to King of Rock, if you listen to Rockbox, if you listen to all my records, the Easter eggs was always there. On King of Rock, I say crash through walls, come through floors, bust through ceilings and knock down doors.
That's true.
Rappers don't do that. Superheroes do that. Son of Biford is just like the son of Odin. Thor is the son of Odin. Darryl is the son of Biford. So everything was always there, but my whole existence in hip hop came from the confidence of comic books. And Riggs was like, yo, you can go back to the thing that you love first, that inspired you to be able to do what you're doing now, and hopefully share that power with some people.
I love it, man. How can people find your comics? Where are they located?
Yeah, my comic book, the Darryl Makes comic book, is in all comic book stores globally.
Okay.
Or you can go online.
Okay,
and
go
you can
online.
go online. Yep.
I love it, man. I love it. Your creativity expands way even past music. Your energy, your creativity of who you are can go in multiple places. And a comic book was the next, obviously, evolution for you, which is pretty incredible, bro. That's incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
You've also been super vocal about your advocacy for mental health and people with mental health struggles.
Exactly.
You've lent your voice to that very important cause. Tell us a little bit about that and how that's made a change for you.
I mean, especially in our communities, unhealthy behavior is celebrated in our communities. People drink. Okay, it's cool to drink, but We celebrate the guy that could drink 56 packs. Or we celebrate the guy that could drink 10/5 of Jack Daniels. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you know, he drank 1 or 2, yes, but then we celebrate the excessiveness and the abuse, not knowing that there's an underlying mental problem causing that person to do that. So, long story short, I was an alcoholic, suicidal, metaphysical, spiritual wreck. I had every symptom that exists in mental health: suicide, alcoholism, depression, anxiety, and all of that stuff. And just like a lot of my peers in the entertainment business, you know, from Chris Cornell to Kurt Cobain to Chester from Linkin Park, I was there with all of those. And, you know, across the boards now, when you look at when you look at entertainment, you see the actors and the celebrities and the athletes who suffer with these mental health issues. But we tend to forget about the everyday people. There's billions of people going through something. A lot of them are ashamed. A lot of them don't want to speak out. A lot of them think it's not cool to ask for help. Well, I'm just an example. The mighty king of rock, who told the world to walk this way in their Adidas, went through some things too. And I was able to go to therapy. I was able to beat and defeat the very things that I was struggling with. So it's important for us, for the little kids, for the boys and girls, for the adults, for everybody in all walks of life. If we admit that we're vulnerable, weak, if we have a problem, if there's something going on in our lives, from meth addiction to alcohol addiction to anorexia to suicidal thoughts to depression to gambling addiction, whatever it is, if we admit that, the individual who doesn't have to be a celebrity, the individual that admit that they're going through something, that admittance, that sharing that situation with the world will make us realize there's 100 other people in the room going through something too. And it's the saying, it's okay not to be okay. It's true. You can get help. You can beat and defeat whatever it is that you're going through, and you're not alone. So it's important that we have we don't need to just mention, oh, this happened and this person's going through that. We got to have continued dialogue about mental health so we can remove the stigma and the shame. And what I mean by that is, if I get a toothache, it's cool if I say, yo, I'm going to the dentist. Mm-hmm. You know, I still wear my glasses. I still got contacts in right now. So if I notice in 2 or 3 weeks now that I need a stronger prescription for my eyeglasses or my contacts, I'm going to go to the doctor. You know what I'm saying? I'm 57 years old now. If I wake up in the morning and my back is hurting, I'm going to go see the physical therapist. I'm going to go see the chiropractor. So if I start exhibiting harmful behavior, if I start feeling depressed, if I start feeling anxiety, you shouldn't feel guilty. You shouldn't be ashamed. You're not weakling. You're not soft or nothing. Like, if you go seek help for something that you're struggling with mentally. So for me, it was important to let people know that, yes, even the mighty king of rock, son of Byford, there is none higher. I'm no different from anybody on the face of the earth. It's cool to seek help and admit that you need assistance with your mental. Because if this ain't right, everything else goes wrong. And if you really want to, if you want to know the story, you can go pick up my book. My book is out now. It's called 10 Ways Not to Commit Suicide.
I love it, man. I love the fact that you just dropped so much wisdom. I love the analogy of saying, well, when your back hurt, you go to the therapist. When your stomach hurt, you go to, when your eyes mess up, you go to the doctor. But if your mental state is not right, you need to go to the doctor and get it checked out. That's just straight ahead wisdom, man. That just makes sense, right? So everybody out there, if you're having some challenges, you're not sure you're not alone, the mighty DMC, he went and talked to somebody and got himself straightened out. So if he can do it, you can do it too. Don't feel alone. Don't feel like you're by yourself. Don't feel like you should be ashamed because you're having some challenges trying to figure some things out. Go talk to somebody. Check out his book right now. Figure out a way to get some help because you're not alone by yourself. Right, DMC?
Yes, indeed. It's true,
Wonderful.
Man, that's
true
fantastic.
facts.
That's a
really,
blessing.
really wonderful.
That is awesome. That
Because
is awesome. Go ahead.
we've all been. I've been there, so I know. I know. So
Yep.
Yeah.
get help.
Yeah,
Just
man.
having another set of ears to speak to is something that
Mhm.
is really, really important. You can get a lot of shit off your chest
Yeah.
and things. And you know, it's a part of life. You know, those are such wise words. I commend you for doing that, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Thank
And
you,
being so
thank you.
transparent about it. Because so many people see the big stars and they think everything's just perfect for them. But DMC
Exactly.
will tell you it ain't always like that. It's not the picture
I
you see
know.
on TV. You
No,
know,
Right.
it just don't work like that.
You know, it's really interesting. It's like I look at these records that I have on my wall, and it's like I just did this for the first time in my entire career. I had a few in my in my crib in New York, and at this time of my life, I says, well, maybe I should just put them all up, and I did. You know, and because each one is a memory, but you know, the most important thing than the great memories of the past is what's happening today and what's happening now in your new music and all the good things that are happening in the present, because that's what we have control over. That's what we really have
Right.
control over. We have no control over tomorrow. We have no
Yes.
control over
Nope.
what happened in the past. And it's the
Right.
same thing I was saying, D. What is happening now, what happened in the past, you can't let that burden you today because it has no bearing on your happiness today in the moment.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
important for everybody to think about. You know,
Yep.
so I thank you for even mentioning the words that you just, espoused, just,
Yeah.
Well,
in
see,
terms.
that's why you got to do it. I've mentioned it, and now you spoke up. Now
Mhm,
you speaking up. There's people listening that's going to speak up.
Yeah.
And even if you're not going through something, now you might be attentive to people going through stuff. A lot of people don't think, okay, I'm okay. But there's people around you that's not okay. It's okay
Right.
for you to step up and say, yo, I'm here for you. Are you sure you're okay? How can I help? I'll go with you. Like some
I
people
love
are
it.
scared to go. I'll go with the person.
Yeah.
Take a day off, take time out your day and say, you know what, I'm going to come with you.
Yeah.
Because together, you know what I'm saying? That's the key
Wow.
to speak up. Because now Eddie spoke up. Now hopefully a billion other people speak up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know, it's been an amazing ride listening to all the wisdom, all the stories, everything that's come from the four of you, because you guys have lived some incredible lives. I love the transparency between all four of you and how DMC, how your music and your vision, your dream was instrumental in all the lives that you're listening to today. Had you not done what you did,
Right.
had you not
Look,
played your role in the world, we wouldn't be listening right now. So what a blessing to have had you do it.
If I didn't have Eddie Martinez playing that incredible riff, Rockbox would never exist, and then
Come on
all this
now.
stuff wouldn't have never happened. So thank you,
Yes.
Eddie.
Oh, so kind, D. Thank you. It means a lot.
So with all the ups and downs, Mr. DMC, of your career, you've learned a lot of wisdom. Last question for you. We're going to get ready to close it out. You know, what would you say to all those future MCs out there that want to be you, follow your footsteps? What would you say for them to do? What would be their one lesson to get to where you are?
The first thing to do is create. Create. You know, and while you're creating, don't have a destination. Because creation means preparation. I didn't want to be in show business. I was just writing rhymes because I wanted to write rhymes. I was in front of the mirror pretending, acting like I was going to be something. It took Run, you know, big shout out to Reverend Run, who saw what I was writing in my book and said, this is really good. Because Run was going to be a solo artist. So he saw that I had something, and he put me in a group. What I'm saying is create for the sake of creating, to get it out of your system. Once you create it, now it's available to the universe to do and go where it's supposed to go. Everybody has a purpose and a destiny, and everything you create is for a reason. So the first thing to do is don't worry about it if people's going to think it's good. Don't worry about, will this get played on the radio, where people like me on Instagram? Forget all that. That means nothing. The only thing that gives you power is to create it for the sake of creation, and the universe will do all the rest.
Wow. I mean,
Um,
if that doesn't put it down and make it pretty simple, that closes the ship right there. Fellas, I think we can close the gate on that statement, just saying create because you need to create, and the universe will take care of itself. You do what you're called to do. You create for the sake of creation. Don't try to get some deal. Don't try to create because you want to create. Be a creator. That is beyond wisdom right there, and that's what we've been talking about a lot. So we appreciate you, DMC, man. We appreciate you, Eddie, for just bringing in that music and being part of that history. KO, we appreciate you being part of the future. We give a shout, if you're still watching out there, to Grounds and Vine. If you're watching, we appreciate you helping us sponsor this show. Come and get that coffee and wine out there if you're there. And to IK Multimedia, dropping the knowledge on Amplitude for KO to rock it out. We appreciate everybody who's had a chance to watch this segment. Of course, we give all honor and praise to God for giving us the time to get this show on the road. And then we thank Mr. DMC for taking the time. DMC, I sure do appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, man. I'll see y'all soon. I'll be back. I ain't going nowhere.
I appreciate you. Eddie, man, thank you for taking the time. You're a gem. You're a gem, brother. You're history in the making.
Man. Be well, everybody.
And KO, thank you, brother, for being here.
KO, I'll see you in Nashville.
Ghetto Metal. Y'all better go get
Ghetto Metal.
Ghetto Metal. Go get it. Go get it. Go get it. And just for the last thing, man, we should appreciate everybody that watched the episode tonight. If you enjoyed this kind of content, share with a friend. We should appreciate you being here. Thanks for being here, chasing the impossible. Have a great night, guys.